Just give it a couple more minutes. Sometimes people are a bit late getting in. Hi everyone, just joining. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes and I'll get started. I've got probably 5 things that I want to talk about that I use for technology in business. Rowan's going to be slightly late, so we might go on to that. But I'm just going to mute you guys, and then if you can, if you've got any questions, on the bottom right corner, I think there is a box that is Zoom group chat that you'll be able to see. So hopefully, just as I start going through it, just maybe pop a few questions in there. I hope we've all got our coffee and tea ready. Okay, right, let's get started. Right, this month's virtual roundtable is all about technology and financial planning. If you've been listening to me for probably a year now, I am a big believer that we're miles behind in financial services. So hopefully through Next Gen Plans, we can get together and actually force the issue a bit more. But I'm just going to go through some of the things that I think I use personally that I think anybody can take away from today. So the first thing, I think there was a discussion on the Slack group about video conferencing. So my first technology tool is exactly what we're seeing now, which is Zoom.us. So what we have here is we have a video conferencing suite, and I've actually used this morning to go through a key person insurance case with a young client in London. We're actually going to go through the application process this afternoon, all online sharing screen. So I don't actually have to go and meet him, and it's a fairly easy case for me to do purely via video conference. There's no issues whatsoever with using video conference. In the top right-hand corner, I'm actually recording this as we speak, and I can actually have this transcribed, which I've had before, and sent off to the guys at Mobile Assistant, which is potentially another tool. But I'm a big believer that using video conferences is a big saver of time. So has anyone got any questions so far on that? No. Jane says we've been using Skype for business for the last 5 years. How have you found it, Jane?
We've been finding it absolutely brilliant. It's a weird thing because we started this 5 years ago when video conference was nearly unheard of for doing financial advice. And Microsoft have evolved their solutions and evolve them probably on a monthly basis. So whereas it started off with being linked separate, the Microsoft enterprise type solution, and then it would have Skypers going on in the personal space. As soon as Microsoft bought it and started bringing it together, you've suddenly got access to billions of people across the world who you can use Skype for Business tools for. And we record every single meeting. We upload everything. Yeah, so it really, really good. And I think the connectivity and the way it works is far better in Skype for Business than Skype to Skype used to be. Skype to Skype was very poor connectivity as it was jumping between however the solution worked. It wasn't a pit. I'm not going to get this language right, by the way. But my other half will be laughing at me in the corner, but because he's the IT man. But it's a more of a peer-to-peer thing, as I understand it. So it's much better, much clearer, and doesn't break up as often as Skype to Skype did.
Okay,
We've
but I
also
think
tried SalesMove as well. I don't know if anyone's seen that. SalesMove does transcription too. It's a really nice little tool, and we have it on our automated advice and portal solutions. So if we're talking to clients, instead of them pulling up a chat, they can pull up and start video chatting with us instead. And it all gets recorded and transcribed also. So I think there's some good solutions out there. And I think they're ever improving, and Microsoft put billions into their systems every day. So that's why we tend to stick with them, because we know that whatever's wrong today, they'll have fixed tomorrow.
Okay, that's great feedback. To be honest, the principle about video conferencing, I think, is something that next gen planners just have to get their head around, because it just saves so much time. Just going on to your question, Tom, does anyone use video messaging? If so, how do you find it? Do you want to just give us an idea of what you mean by video messaging? Just take you off mute a second. One second. Sorry, Tom, do you want to just tell us what you mean by video messaging?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, so either responding to client queries or potentially even delivering sort of mid-year updates. There's a consideration of mine at the moment. I wonder if anybody does similar.
Yeah, I've come across it. I know a lot of the guys in the US use it. I think there is a tool, and I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Boom Boom or something along those lines. I can dig it out and put it on the Slack group. But a couple of the guys in the US basically send video messages to clients on a regular basis, and they say it works very well. I also have an accountant connection who does it prolifically, and he talks about it very highly. I've just not got round to it yet, but I think it could be a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I was on mute again.
It's
Sorry,
okay.
do you mean making a little video and sending it through so your clients watch it at the other end at their own leisure? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then in which case we make things like videos to discuss, to explain attitude to risk. We make videos to explain client agreements, because they're done so inconsistently, and we send those out prior to advice calls. And
That's
then when
great.
we get into the advice call, with a video call, then we're talking about what they've seen on that video, and we develop the conversations on. So again, really, really supportive. Just for background for you guys, is we are completely remote. We never see anyone face to face, and we don't ever send out a bit of paper. I've got a dodgy little printer in the back, which I use for emergencies, and that is it.
Yeah, that's great. I've also been tinkering around with the idea of sending a screencast for people's financial plans, which I've literally done this week, and that went down well as well. So I literally did a 2 or 3 minute screencast where I just went through the key points of their financial plan that I built for them, and that I found was a lot more. I think that's a lot more powerful than sending a Word document. So I'm just playing around with that as well. I think the key thing for video messaging, though, is making, not video messaging, video conferencing, is making it really easy for the client. So actually putting in the calendar invite, actually putting in the actual address that these guys just click, and just taking away any potential friction, because it is a lot more. It takes harder. It takes more time to organise and just face to face come into our offices and sit down. You know, there's a bit more thought that has to go through it. How will you send the video, Adam? It is literally just a YouTube, Gretchen. It's when you screencast, you can actually just put it on YouTube, make it private, and just send it to the client. So that's what we did. Okay, so thinking about video messaging or vlogging to get content out. Yeah, Rich, I completely agree. I know you've talked about that before. Okay, so has anyone got any questions about video conferencing before we move on to the next one? Does the client need to download the software first? From Dominic. Good question. I know there's some that don't. I mean, you're using Zoom now, and I don't know whether you've had to download anything, but I would imagine it's been fairly simple to get here today. Any feedback?
I think I came in on my iPad. I had to go to the iStore and download the app, which I think is the same for many of these systems. I think Skype for Business and things, if you do it via a laptop, then there is a little web add-on that just gets downloaded, and then the client can start to use it. And I believe that Skype for Business, because it's so integrated into Microsoft, if the client is using a new laptop with Edge on it, then it doesn't even have to download the add-on. It just works.
Okay. I've also used appear.in before as well. So I think that is browser-based as well as join.me. So there's loads of these tools. I mean, I think what I've been happy with Zoom for is the reliability. So I haven't had any issue doing, multi-video conferences like this. But I just like it. I think it works. Okay. So I'm going to do probably a couple more.
Sorry, can I just ask one quick question?
Yeah.
With Skype for Business and stuff, it records everything. You've got a copy on your laptop which you can then put wherever you want to. What happens with this system? Does that do a similar thing?
Yeah. So I can. So this is being recorded to Zoom, where I have an allowance, or I can decide for it to be recorded to my computer. So for $15 a month or whatever the cost is, you have the option with quite a lot of storage to. I prefer to download it to Zoom because I prefer it in the cloud.
And do we know where it's being? We're cloud also, but it's about this. If you're doing advice calls, it's about the security of their storage, and they're in America, aren't they? So
I think they're Amazon based. For the client calls, we download them to our computers. Right. For this, we download them to Zoom.
Thank you.
I don't use this one, so we have two separate ones as well. So it's an interesting point. So let me go on to the next one. So we've covered video conferencing. Rowan's going to come in hopefully in a minute once he's picked his son up. I'm a huge believer of Squarespace in terms of blogs, anything you want to put on there. I know people have their own websites and stuff like that. I put Genius with Money on there. So I'll just give you an idea, if I can share my screen, of how easy Squarespace is, because I think it'll be quite valuable. Okay. So let's just go back to this now. Let's just go back. Hi, Rohan. You okay?
I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, good. Just doing my last point, and then I'm bringing in the expert. So, okay. Yeah. So I'm just going through Squarespace, which is my website. So obviously I'm a perennial blogger on, and I use Genius for Money because I have a very specific niche. And I basically decided probably about 2 years ago that I was just going to blog separately from the company that I worked in, because we have 2 or 3 different niches within that company. And Squarespace has been absolutely brilliant. So it's about $89 a year or something along those lines. And it's just so easy to use. So I have an about page on there. I have a work with Adam page there. So I'm not going to bore you with all the detail, but it takes you probably, if you're thinking of blogging, I really would consider having a separate page. And if you are, I would really recommend something like Squarespace, because you can just literally get started as quick as possible. And I'm just a big believer that it's a nice way to show your expertise in your area. Let me just stop sharing. Has anyone got any questions on that so far?
Yes, I do, mate. It's sort of, I guess it's non-tech related. However, I used to blog a bit. I used to put one out there every Monday. And I think my question to you is that how do you find the time to keep writing them? Mine just died a death because I couldn't, physically keep up with just continuously putting stuff out there.
Obviously it's probably a different topic, and I actually had Russ Hayworth, who is probably the most prolific blogger that I know in financial services, on the podcast, recording podcast this morning. I think you just have to book it in your diary. So every Wednesday morning, give myself probably 2 hours to write content for what I'm doing. And that could be Genius with Money, that could be Next Gen, or that could be Zentum stuff. I've actually gone to a more 3 or 4 week schedule with Genius with Money, and I've actually gone into a bit more detail and a bit more thought with my blogs. I think video content, as Rich said earlier, is potentially the easier way to do it in the future. Or even podcasting, I think, is a good medium. But the whole principle is that Squarespace is the technology. You literally can just host any type of content on that one pager or 2 or 3 pager, and it just makes the whole process easy. You don't have to know how to code. You just literally put add video, put it up, write a few words, and it posted. It has an analytics thing all built in. It's just very, very clever the way they've done it, and it's cheap. So of the 2 things that I probably had the most benefit from, apart from I've got one more, I would say Zoom.us for video conferences, but Squarespace for me has been a massive game changer in my business, because that blog's been a real integral part to growing my audience. Any questions on that before we move on? Any benefit to duplicating blogs on company websites and Squarespace? I mean, I think the important thing to realize is, Tom, that we don't have any blogs on our company page. We actually have niche satellite sites that we try and point people towards our regulated business. So our view is, because we have 2 or 3 different niches within the firm, our view is that the Zentum should be the place where people transact the business, and outside on Squarespace, which should be the place where people get to know you a bit better, get to know your personality, and get to know why you're the relevant person to look after them. So we've gone at it a bit of a different way, which is working really well, actually. But to answer your question, I just believe if you've got content, you just get it out to any medium you can. Okay. Anything else? Chris Broom says duplicating will negatively impact your SEO. I actually think that's a bit of a myth, Chris. I mean, I've heard a couple of people talk about this, and I've asked a couple of people. I've asked probably 3 or 4 people if that's true, and I don't think it is. I think it's just a myth that someone's created somewhere. I've not seen any negative impacts on SEO. And SEO, I think, is a bit of a myth anyway. I think it's all about.
I think that's more about if you copy an article from somewhere verbatim, copy and paste, put it into your own thing. Google doesn't like that. But if it's original content and if it's edited as such so that it can be more original, Google is more au fait with it and will promote you more, which is sort of like a natural SEO. So it is all about creating original content as opposed to copying other people's, I believe.
Gretchen, can you overblog? We are only blogging, say, 2 times a week, but could do more. I think I don't know the answer to that question. I've seen some people who blog every day. I love Seth Godin's blog, so every time he sends out a blog, I read it. Because he's straight to the point, and that's more or less every day that he sends out a blog. Russ hates blogs 6 times a day. I just think it's thinking about who your audience is and what they prefer. If it's a long form, it's obviously not going to be 2 times a week. I prefer the long form now, so I'm a big fan of like the Tim Ferriss type approach where he actually goes into a bit more detail, and that's where I'm trying to get to with my content in time. But let's not talk about content. So I've got one more before Rohan gives us his expertise, which is going to be fantastic. I basically built businesses around Slack. So you will see NextGen is very much Slack involved. One of the guys at Zentum is trying to get us involved with Microsoft Teams, and it's just not as good as Slack. I've played with it all I can. Slack for me is just the best possible tool to communicate as a team. So if there's more than 2 or 3 or 4 of you, Jane said we love Teams. Yeah, well, I think you're a Microsoft person, Jane, and I'm very much not a Microsoft person, even though I'm on a Microsoft Surface Pro. It wouldn't have been my choice. But I just think Slack's very intuitive. I think it's a great way. So we work in planner and paraplanner and administration teams. It's a great way to have private channels and actually discuss cases that you're working on. We've also been known to get outsourced paraplanners to come in as well. So it's a nice way to work on cases. It's a nice way to, announce that the Christmas party is being done. And I just think obviously.
Sorry, I just have to jump in. Sorry, Adam. We actually run an outsourced paraplanning service on Teams. It's one of the businesses we run. So it's funny, isn't it? It's just what you like. And I think if you pick something and you commit to it, you will learn it really well. You will use it really well. And I honestly don't think, we've been remote for 5 years. I honestly don't think it matters which you choose, as long as you commit to it and you use it really, really well. So sorry, I was just laughing because we're completely the opposite to you.
But we're trying to go to Teams because we're Microsoft, we're SharePoint and stuff. But I'm just finding it not as intuitive at the moment. It may get better, but Slack. My life runs around Slack, so maybe I'm just used to it. I mean, Rohan and we both use it for next gen, don't we? And we get a lot of value from it. I mean, it does get a bit annoying at times if you don't turn off your notifications, but once you learn how to do that, you've mastered it. Any questions on Slack? Anyone else use it within their businesses?
I won't let paraplanners turn it off.
Anyone use Slack within their business yet? How does everyone communicate within your business? And please don't tell me you do internal emails. Oh, Rich, you've disappointed me.
We used to use Yammer as well. I don't know if people have explored Yammer. It works quite well as a good knowledge base as well as an interaction and collaborative tool. But we've just shifted over to Teams purely because everyone was just getting so fed up with having a load of different systems. And if you're not techie orientated, being taught SharePoint, being taught Skype for Business, being taught Yammer, that's blown half of the population away for the first 3 months of their work environment. So the one thing about Teams was it just started to pull together. It all, I was able to keep selling it now as it's all part of the Microsoft suite, so it's easy.
Yeah. I'm just going back to you, Rich, because I need to pick up on this. Internal emails, you've got to move off those, my friend. They are the death of any business. We're too small. You're never too small. Me and Rohan started Next Gen Planners on Slack, and look at us.
That isn't technically true. We actually started it in the pub, but after the pub came Slack.
Yeah, we started in the pub, yeah. But the first thing we did was set up Slack. But yeah, anyway, it's the internal team communication is actually a really important one, and the forever replying to emails was getting, as we grew, getting everyone down. Think about using it. Yeah. Okay. Well, just start using it, Rich. What shout, Tom? Or are you asking me to shout?
I mean, we just shout at each other.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. I thought that was some sort of tool that I've never heard of.
Some of my team in Canada, India, and Scotland, and Milan, and I can't shout that loud, although I do give it a try, Tom.
Yeah. Okay, right, that's it from me. Rohan, what have you got on your list?
Yeah, if I can work out how to share screen, let me try this. See if this works. I can move this panel. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Cool. So I've, as recently as about 10 days ago, switched over to DocuSign for electronic signatures, and I'm just trying to go as paperless as possible. The only bit of paper in my process now is transfer forms and application forms, unfortunately. But they'll get there one day, won't they? So I've sort of just taken to it. I'm just fed up of spending money on printer ink and stuff like that. So I thought I'd get into DocuSign. So I literally signed up about 10 days ago. I've been playing around with it. I'm by no means perfect with it, but I thought it'd just be helpful for people to see how it works and whether it's something that they could use within their business as well. I should go to say at the start here, I'm not on commission of any form. I'm just genuinely trying to help out. So once you log into DocuSign, you get to this dashboard. And if I hit new here and send an envelope, what I can do is upload a document first of all, and then put in the recipient details and just add in where they need to sign it. It's really simple. The thing I've just prepared here is actually a newish document of mine. This is my terms of business document, which I've actually this week as well just got back from Phil Bray's team at the Yardstick, because they've been doing a bit of tarting up of it when it loads. Might just be a bit slow because I'm on Zoom. It is really slow, isn't it? Blimey. First, I'll tell you what, while I'm waiting for that, and I need to kill some time, is anyone else using any e-signature software at all?
Yeah, we use DocuSign, have done for probably, I think, about 18 months. Like Tom Morris said, he's used DocuSign, and Jane's used digital signatures for about 5 years, but I'm not sure which one.
Okay, cool. And I can see in the comments there, James Hay with their pension, it is great.
Brilliant process. It just made me so happy. I just set up a new business, so I've been having to do agency codes and agreements with all of the product providers and all of the lenders, and I've been going ballistic at them. If anyone sees any of my articles on LinkedIn and will like them, it will be hugely appreciated, because I'm trying to put enormous pressure on all of them to change their processes, and I have managed to get some to change. But James Hay was just like the best, nicest, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was so easy to do an application form. But in the main, we literally have just been using PDF, Adobe. Is it EchoSign? Is DocuSign different to EchoSign? Yeah. We've been using EchoSign, which I think is almost exactly the same sort of process. And that's been a doddle. And literally, I'm so stubborn about this stuff, because I think you have to be to move into this next gen world. So I refuse to deal with a supplier unless he will accept my digital signature via EchoSign.
Jane,
we won't do it.
Just on that, before we move on, why don't you create a list of companies that currently are there, and we can start plugging it, to the outside public?
That will be brilliant, because I have started a list, and that's exactly what I've been doing. So I'm starting to work through who it is who accepts agencies, who accepts applications from customers, who doesn't need an advisor signature, who doesn't send paper statements. And literally, I will have gone through the whole of the provider and lender population in the next 2 months, and then I was going to publish it. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, brilliant. Well, it's good. As much pressure as we can get from all angles on that. And fantastic. Oh, good. So this is finally loaded through now. I just got this week from the Yardstick, and I think it looks pretty cool actually for a terms of business document. I know they're generally a bit sort of ugly at times. Basically, my terms of business document is signed by myself and by the client. So what I can do is I can set a signing order here and add people in. So if I first of all just put my own email address on there, and I'll put my other email address on there, which goes to the same inbox. You can do it on the basis of if they need to sign it, or if people just need a copy of that document as well. And as I've hit set signing order, it means that I have to sign it first before the client has to sign it. As you can see here, you've got other options like you can add contacts directly instead of typing them in there, or input it, or put a bulk list if you're trying to get a load of these out at once.
Rohan, when do you generally send this out?
Terms of business? After I've had the initial discussion with the client, or usually after the first meeting, and we've agreed that we want to take it a bit further, and here's what the charges are, I'll fill out the editable boxes on the terms of business and just bring it over to them, get them to sign it. And
have you like, because I've found that I do the same, and literally that process has been so much quicker than sending out, the paperwork. Here's our letter of engagement. So once clients buy into it, they literally just sign it straight away. In my experience.
Sorry, say that again.
Once clients buy into you, buy into the process, they literally sign this electronic document straight away, don't they? Is that your experience?
It's so simple. What I'm actually going to show you is, and I'll sort of come across to my inbox in a minute, is actually the document loading as if it's the client end, and how easy the steps are to follow. And I've already within the past week, sent these to people in their 50s and 60s, and it's no issue. It isn't the sort of I know that everyone thinks it's a bit of an age thing, electronic signatures for the young. It's not at all. It's so simple to do, especially when I can add electronic signatures to suitability reports, which I've been doing.
So Gretchen has a question just before we move on. Will it create the editable document for you, or do you need to design the PDF before?
So I'll show you in a moment. You can actually add things straight onto the PDF. However, the way that I've got my terms of business designed by the Yardstick was that there were editable PDF boxes, so that I can type into it first of all, and then add the e-signature on afterwards. Cool. So in this bottom part just here, is the title of the email that they get sent. So you might just want to change that, and the message as such. So if I just write, hello, please sign. And if I hit next, it will come through. So because I've got a PDF that is, that's got form fields on it, I can assign it to certain people and keep the data from that form, etc. What I'm just going to do is just press delete data, because there was nothing in it anyway. So that partially answers your question as well, Gretchen. So you can keep those fields of data in there. So if I just come through. So it's just taking a bit of time to load. Right, so if I come to the last part, obviously I've filled out all of everything that's already been, that's going to be going ahead. And then it gets this part. So at the moment, I'm Rohan Sivajoti and my client is called Hello. So for me, I need to sign it down here. So I'll drag a signature into there. I'll drag the date into there, and I'll drag my name into there. For the client, signature into their box, date into their box, and name into their box. Simple as that. If I hit send, that's it. It's with them. But first of all, it's going to come to me, and because my computer recognizes me, it'll say, do you want to sign this now? So, yep, I'll just quickly sign it now. So if I go down to the signature where I've got to sign it, which it loads through, is here. So it's pulled my name through, pulled the date through. That's all I have to do to sign it. Finish. And that's one document signed by me. So as the client, oh, sorry, there's a client email in there. I shouldn't probably show you that. Never mind. So this document has come through. So this is as if I'm a client, because it's come to the same inbox here. So Rohan Sivajoti has sent you a document, and hello, please sign. That was the subject header that we put into the email. So this is from the client perspective. They get review document. I agree to use electronic records and signatures. I mean, this is so easy to follow. You really can't get it wrong. Again, come down to the bottom, and my bit's been signed. Their bit to sign here. Now, they can put in their signature as they like. You can change the style of your signature if you really wish to. If you want to draw it in, you can draw it in, whichever you like. So completely up to a client how they want to sign it. Adopt and sign. That pulls through. Hit finish. It'll ask them if they want to save a copy, which they can do, but they get sent a copy anyway. So if I come back to my inbox now, it will tell me that the client viewed the document and they've completed the document. And that's it. Very simply, one signed terms of business.
Okay, Rich Ellis has said, and I'll come back to your question, Jane. Rich Ellis has said, aside from terms of business, which documents you use it for, we've actually started to try and use it for LOAs, because if we actually have the clients in, some couple of guys, as usual, have kicked it back and say, no, we need the wet signature, as usual, but quite a few of them have started actually accepting it, which I've found very, very pleasing. So we've used it for 18 months, and it speeds up the process of signing clients up once they've made the decision to work with you. That's been my experience.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, just to answer some of the other points on there, I think I agree with you from the letter of authority's point of view. I haven't got to that stage yet, just because too many providers don't accept e-signatures, so I'm still getting the wet ones. However, Tom, to answer your question there, do any clients have issues working it out? It's too early to say for me. I'm guessing Adam can have more of a thing on that, but it is really simple and straightforward. I haven't had any problems yet. The other documents, yeah, the only documents I'm really using it for at the moment are terms of business and suitability reports so far. Who's to say there won't be more in the future? But again, I'm a virginal user, so not that far along yet.
Yeah, Tom, I've never had a client have any issue with it. It's dead simple. It makes it really easy. What I would say as well is we've actually got at the conference, we've actually got some guys in Manchester that have actually built a proposal tool to actually they built a pricing tool stroke proposal tool that incorporates all this. And I was with them yesterday, and they're presenting that on their stand in November. So keep your eyes out for that, because I think that's going to be an exciting space. I'm excited about that.
That's cool. Tom Morris, I do have a list of providers that accept e-signatures. Actually, I've got this. I think I'll share it with everyone. Actually, I've got a big list of basically every company in the UK who've got ISA wrapper permissions and pension wrapper permissions, all their addresses, phone numbers, and whether they accept e-signatures or not.
I think we should publish the ones that don't.
Yeah, so we can name and shame some on there. But I'll just send that round everyone, because it's probably quite useful anyway. Okay.
I did notice as well that Royal London have started doing life cover online. So they actually do relevant life policies online now, which I found out the other day, which is amazing. Yeah. Are you happy with that, Rohan? Has everyone else got any questions about e-signatures?
I mean, the only thing I would just reiterate is they're the future. You know, if you don't do them, we're just not going to have IFAs with paper processes in the future. They're just not going to exist, because we won't be able to afford it. This has got to be the way forward. We've used them for 5 years. Would never ever change in a million years. It's just the right way to go.
So I'm going to ask you your question now, Jane, because it's a question that was actually asked on the Facebook about. Is anyone using online attitude to risk tools, and if so, which ones do you recommend and why? So I'm just going to simply say we use Finometrica, and to be honest, clients, we don't view it as an integral part of our process. For us at the moment, it is literally just an afterthought and something that we send to clients.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to share my screen again. Just bear with me. Cool. I'm just going to share this again. So for my attitude to risk questionnaire, I do use the eValue one, but I think, like Rich Ellis said on the Facebook group earlier, I'm not overly enamoured with any in particular. It's just the one I'm using for now. I've got a review coming up soon. I'm looking forward to that one that Chris Budd's been talking about. I think it's BIQ, is it? Something
Yeah,
like that.
we've got Neil on the podcast as well.
Oh, awesome.
6 weeks.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So have a look out for that. So that's supposed to be really cool. But so what I've done with mine is just created a really simple Google form for it. So instead of, again, sending it out paper and asking people to do whatever, I've just put it all into a Google form with this nice moving image at the top, so that people can just very simply click through the questions. You can obviously mandate certain questions within Google Forms and submit, and I get a notification saying that's straight back. Again, just really simple, easy to use. And then the only thing I have to do is a bit of manual data input into FE, but I'll just get someone else to do that. Yeah.
I mean, it isn't hard to do that, is it? Using Google Forms, and
I'm just told you can do exactly the same thing on Microsoft Forms. Sorry to keep doing the Microsoft thing. I'm guessing that Google and Microsoft will probably do identical things from now on in, just slightly different. So if you happen to be a Microsoft camp, don't stop and think you can't do it, because you still can.
Yeah, that's good for me to know, because we're Microsoft. We built Next Gen Planners on Google because Zenton wasn't my call. Okay, so that's great. Any other questions? So, attitude to risk. I mean, are people finding that that's an integral part of the process? I think that's a bigger question. Is that a really important thing that people are doing with clients?
I think from my point of view, and I wear lots of hats because I'm a chartered financial advisor, but I'm also a compliance person. I'm also a power planner, and I've also dealt with skilled persons and past business reviews. So my head is full of all the things that go wrong in the world and what's the right way to do it. And I tend to run advice processes very much around risk tolerances and capacities and what people are trying to achieve and how their objectives impact on those risk analysis. But I'm also a great believer in the fact that I want my customers to be able to complete some of this stuff at least first without my input, because I also believe that the advisor's influence on an attitude to risk discussion is not a good one, because you'll find with all advisors, and because we've also recorded calls for so many years, I've listened to lots of advisors as well. And advisors that always have cautious customers are the ones that talk about ISIS and the next big share drop, and how bad Trump's going to be in the world, and Brexit's going to kill everything. And strangely enough, all their customers are low tolerance to risk. And then you have the other bunch that are very creative about it, and all their customers are high risk. So there's no doubt in my mind that our ability to influence our customers is not a good way of establishing their attitude to risk as a standard benchmark. So what I'm looking for is an attitude to risk tool that can be sent out to them on a link, that they can watch a video, which will be a standard video about risk and reward, so they get some understanding, that they can answer these questions, that this comes back into me so I can evaluate it. And then when I get to the advice meeting or the fact-finding meeting, I will have something to go on, and we can start constructing the other layers around the tool that are needed to do a proper interpretation of what we're going to be doing. And that's mainly because I'm in an investment pension space and later life space. So this is what I talk about a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why I think it's integral, and I'm getting really a bit fed up because it's a brand new business. I'm looking at everything: which platforms to use, which managed portfolios to use, which automated robo advice solution to use, and it's a jigsaw puzzle that I'm trying to drop these things into. And so I've got a very consistent way of dealing with what I want to. And attitude to risk for me has been the most appalling thing, because there's so many different ones. It's very rare to find something that maps them all together. Everybody uses something different. So you choose a managed portfolio, they will use one version, and then you want to do robo advice and they want to use another one. And it just adds massive inconsistency. So I was trying to find that one drop dead ATR tool that would help me build that advice process, and that then I would spend the time mapping everything I wanted to use back to it if I had to. So that's why I was trying to make the best choice in attitude to risk.
I think you've raised a more important point, though. So I think you've raised the point that the problem we have in financial services is that we have too many individual components that don't talk to each other. So I think that's the bigger issue here is, we've got attitude to risk tools, we've got financial planning tools, we've got back office tools, we've got investment tools, and none of them at the moment seem to talk to each other and map all the way through, unless I'm wrong. But that's a big area that we're looking at next gen, because I know for a fact a lot of the US guys have these tools that basically go through the whole business and actually map it all the way through. And it's almost like we're trying to all piece it together, when actually it's the providers that need to get their acts together, that actually say we need to talk, open our APIs, and we need to do these things. That for me is an issue that we potentially have to force as well. So a massive example for me is Voyant. Why are Voyant not integrating with more users of tools that people use, like fact finding tools, whatever. They seem to work at their own pace, and it's continually frustrating. IntelliFlow is another one that are only just thinking about opening their API. So again, this is something that we need to keep forcing.
I couldn't agree more, and I've just been through the process of all of every single system you can possibly think of and how it's going to work together. And it is the most frustrating experience, because you get so far down looking at your model, and then you get stopped because something else won't connect to something else. And I'm an IntelliFlow user. But there's all sorts of tools that are in the same boat. I nearly went down a DT attitude to risk route, and then discovered that DT wouldn't allow IO to actually integrate it properly. So that wasn't IO that was doing it, it was DT that was doing it. And that's because they're building their own small planning bit of software as well. And I think the issue is they're all competing against each other. I'd actually rather have the regulator or the industry determine one single attitude to risk mechanism, and we all used it, and then every other system could compete around it as much as they liked, but it would all join around that categorization of risk effectively.
Yeah,
but I don't think I'm going to do that in my lifetime, because I'm getting too old now, but you lot might be able to.
Another tool you might want to look at, and I've done a podcast with them, but the guys at Precise FP have got that tool in the US, and they've actually built a UK version now, and it's almost there. It's not quite there yet, but that can give you a fact find, it can give you electronic signatures, and it can give you anything you want and any way you want to build it, all within one system. And I know Chris Hindle's been doing a bit of work on it at Jones Hill, and he's been blown away by how good that's been. So maybe have a look at these tools and think, how can I put my processes into these tools, rather than, how can I work around the tools and their processes? It seems to me to be the wrong way around.
I should say at this point as well that Cash Calc released their detailed fact find this week, and it's really, really good.
Yeah,
really good. So I've immediately switched to that now. So that takes out my one bit that I was still jotting down and whatever else as well. It's cool. And I mean, I've seen the Precise FP as well when me and you have been going through it with Next Gen on the other side of things, Adam, and it's it's superb. It's really good.
I mean, Cash Calc's a great example of a company that are actually thinking about what the audience wants. And I've been really impressed by them and what they're doing.
I think that's the classic though, but because they're doing it day in, day out, so they know all the pain points, they know everything that we do day in, day out, and I think that sometimes comes to. So this is often why it's usually the people who build the greatest things are the people who do these things day in, day out, and I've been massively impressed with them, I've got to say.
Yeah. Okay. We've got 11 minutes probably before we wrap up. Anyone got any other piece of technology, something that would help the group that you think is something that's improving your life as a financial planner? We're in a bad state, aren't we? What about booking systems? What booking systems do people use, if any?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just using my standard calendar on my phone and my computer.
So sending booking invites to people. So
Yeah,
I'm a huge believer that you should be sending booking invites to people like prospects and clients and getting it booked in their calendar as soon as possible, rather than the back into with emails. So I've seen Calendly, I've used Schedule once. Microsoft have got their own version, but I've not been impressed with that because there's a couple of things that it doesn't do. Um, I think there's an area here of real efficiency within a business.
I think it depends what video conferencing system well, it depends whether you're face to face or video conferencing. I accept that. We only do video conferencing, so it's very easy because we're sending out a link to Skype for Business and it goes through the Outlook calendar and links into IO automatically. So we wouldn't go searching for an alternative because it just all happens together. But I think it's different if you're using a different system, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'll generally have, so when I'm in Manchester or London, I'll generally have maybe 4 or 5 meetings a day, and it's really, really hard getting all those in the calendar and organising them all. So what I'll do is I'll just send my Calendly, and people can just book in the time that they want to see me. Tom said 2 of us still use a paper diary. That's the level I'm doing. What do you use, Tom? That's the important thing.
Microsoft Outlook. So
Okay.
everything's on Outlook, and we do have a grouped Outlook diary as well, which gets updated sometimes by the others, sometimes not.
But do you understand the principle of what I'm talking about? So you're basically sending a link that you've said, I'm available on these dates, and it's up to the person at the other end how they book in and what time. So that's the way something like Calendly would work.
Yeah, I don't know whether that would suit our client bank. I don't know. And again, that might be me misjudging their technical abilities, which is something I'm wary of. But yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. I was just going to say. Oh no, sorry. Go on, Jen.
I was just going to say we also have it on a system just on our website, where literally they can say they want to book a meeting and it will go straight in and appear in our diaries, and we'll get the chance to accept it or decline it, but they'll have chosen what day it is they want to go for, and so you just block out what it is you don't want them to use.
So what software do you use for that? Because that's what we have.
It's a little add-in that goes into our Wix website that we just built in. I think most websites will have an add-in that does it. I'm assuming.
No, I
simpler than you think.
Yeah, I agree with Rich and Tom and Tommy that there is an excuse to pick up the phone and say what date, but when you're dealing with professional connections, prospects, lots of clients, it's amazing how much time, if you actually log it, it takes going back and forth over email or chasing people to get dates. And I looked at it at some client. Yeah, it does depend on. I looked at it and it was taking, hours of my week that I just got back from using a small tool. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say one new piece of technology that I put in this week as well is Moneypenny, the PA system. So this is whereby, so now if somebody calls my mobile number or my landline number, so first of all, the landline number comes to my mobile anyway, because I'm just a one-man band. If I'm either on a call or I can't get to the phone, instead of going to my voicemail, it goes through to a PA who answers the phone with hello, postcard financial planning, etc., takes a message for me and pings me a notification to my Moneypenny app with the message on it, so I can go back to that person. It's £5 a month plus VAT, and then any call under 30 seconds is free. But for anything else, it's 2p per second. So I've like a minute long phone call. Cost me about £1.20 for them to take a message or something. But it's just especially for someone like me as a one-man band or whatever. It's just a bit more of a professional outlook than people going through to my voicemail or missing me or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm one man band as well, so I've got to have the same issues that you have, Rowan, is trying to make this all work in a way that's not too time consuming or expensive. We've just added voice onto Skype for Business, so that because obviously Microsoft is it was about to become a telco and probably take over the world with it. But the fact is they have an answering service as well, so it's really great, and it's got a little, auto attendant. Which deals with my clients, and then I just get an email into my email box at a later date with a recording if they've recorded something, and I can just pick it up and do whatever I need to. So similar thing, really useful. We don't have any landlines at all. We're completely VoIP. We would never put a landline in, or will I ever use my mobile phone? Which is another weird thing. I have my VoIP on my mobile phone, my laptop, my iPad, and I only ever put out a VoIP number for people to ring.
Yeah.
Just as an alternate route as well.
I think the point is with both of you that you've looked at something that is potentially, very, very, like there's a lot of friction in there in the business, isn't there, if you don't get that right? And I think you've both got tools in place to sort it. Just on Tom's question, yes, 100%. I've looked at this. Intercom, I think, is the outstanding online chat section. I'm actually a real believer of online chat, especially if done right. I think it can be very, very powerful. With Intercom as well, it's not the cheapest, but you can also drive clients to that system, and it's actually a good way for them to send documentation over. So I'm a big fan of Intercom. I've not come across SalesMove, but a big fan of Intercom.
Okay, so we had a bit of a chat about this on Twitter earlier in the week, didn't we, about online chat? Because I'm yet to have a good experience of it. It's always quicker for me to pick up the phone and sort something out with somebody, whatever that company may be. A couple of people have used Amazon as a really good example. I haven't used their online chat facility before, but apparently that is very good. I do have quite a good experience of online chat because when I was the advisory director over at eVesta, I set up the online chat team there. So the whole of that advisory and support team. And part of that was looking through the software. We landed on Zopim. I think it was about £20 a month or so to set up, and then plus a few extra user licenses. It was really good, but one of the focuses I had to create with that team was actually create an online chat service that works and gets back to you quickly and actually answers questions. So my personal feeling is that online chat is going to be great and will be massive in the future. But I think like much new tech and new things that come in, it's just not being done properly at the moment. The humans haven't quite mastered the technology.
Is that? I think it might be a terminology thing, because online chat for me is when I've got somebody at the other end who's answering my questions and solving my problems. Are you talking about an AI version that?
No, we're talking about a real person.
Right.
But on that though, I actually think the way I viewed it is I think it's a great prospect tool, because I think for someone to actually come on your website and pick the phone up or send an email is a lot harder than then just say, a pop-up and say, how do you doing? Do you fancy a chat? Have you seen this latest blog? Have you seen this latest video? I've seen some guys use it really powerful, and they show personality in it as well, which I think is the key thing.
The reason I ask is it came up in a meeting we had yesterday that should we try it, and we were just a bit wary of what happens if we miss it. We're a little bit. I just wanted a bit more information on it, because, like you said, if prospects come and find you on your website, it'd be quite nice just to give them a bit of information. Or is it just a way for them to say, "Oh, this is my telephone number. Give me a call." We're looking into it.
The good thing about Intercom, I think, is you get either a 14-day or 30-day trial, and you also get to see the stats on that. You also get to see if people engaged with it and how it works. I've not heard of it, but they'll all be the same. You get to see if it works. I just think there's less friction if someone comes on your website and actually they see your face and say, "Hi, how are you doing? Are you having a good day? Have a look around your website. Have you seen our latest Financial Being podcast?" And that for me is a pretty cool way to engage with people.
Yeah. I'm completely 100% agree with you, because even as a customer, I'm very annoying and I don't want to talk to people, and I don't want people ringing me up. I just want to be online and I want to ask them a question. I want to get an answer and I want it to be instant. And that's what I think more clients are becoming. And certainly the younger generations definitely are. They won't wait for anything. They have a zero patience level because they're used to Googling everything they want and getting instant information. So I think it's even more important, again, not just today, but in the future, it's going to be hugely important. The reason why I put Sales Mover up is, and there's just a quick thing, Tom, you said, what if somebody doesn't answer it? You just turn it off and it doesn't appear when you're not at the other end ready to answer it. And if you use Sales Move, you can also say whether you'll do it by text, whether you'll do it by audio, whether you'll do it by video. So you can say how you're ready to receive it. And then the customer at the other end just sees the online chat pop up and it will say on the website whether they can text you, audio you or video you. Is bloody brilliant. And also, as soon as it's finished, it's recorded everything and it's transcribed it all, and you're given a link to be able to take it and go and do whatever you want with it. So it's quite new. I haven't seen it before. I only just started using it because it's been offered as part of IO's Intelligent Officers customer portal, and I'm a big customer portal fan. And it is bloody excellent. I can't rave about it any more highly than that.
Yeah. Okay, just one more point. I think don't underestimate the power of WhatsApp as well with clients, because I have loads of clients that actually started sending me messages on WhatsApp, and it can all be logged. And you can actually, I've started using Zapier. I'm not going to get into Zapier today, but I'm addicted to Zapier. What you can do with it, but WhatsApp's actually a good way of getting hold of clients in a fairly secure manner. I think Rohan agrees. I've got loads of guys that WhatsApp me all the time with their stuff. Also, just while
I think you just got to make sure you do the feature to make sure it's encrypted, because WhatsApp's not encrypted as the default position. So if you do, you have to set the setting to encrypted. I understand. I'm not a techie expert, by the way, but I'm just throwing in my the bits I've learned along the way.
Okay. Just while you finish, we're also in negotiation to get a deal on Mobile Assistant. Some of you guys might have come across it, but it's a transcription service. So we're just going through that at the moment. I'm speaking to the guy in 3 weeks' time. And I think he might do a webinar as well on how his transcription service works. So I think that's going to be more and more relevant as things are recorded in time. And those guys they're impressive because I've used them before. Precise FP, I'll try and get on to do a webinar if there's enough demand that they're keen to present. Any other tech people you want us to? We've got Neil Bage for BIQ coming on. Anybody else that has taken your fancy, you think you want to learn more about? If so, just drop a message on the Slack group and we'll just we'll send a message, and just hopefully that's been useful today. Okay. Everything.
I think you're getting the nod, Adam. So
I'm getting the nod. Yeah, get out. Get out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Great, guys. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the Slack group. Cheers.